Rama asked, "Holy Sir, kindly tell me, how may one quickly destroy all these seeds of distraction and reach the supreme state?" Distractions are a typical condition. The attention is being taken all over the place, out there, in here, into our thoughts, our ideas, our fantasies, our musings. Vasishta said, "These seeds of sorrow, O Ram, can be destroyed, each by the destruction of the previous one." Distractions don't exist in isolation, they are caused by each other. But if you can at one stroke cut off all mental conditioning and by great self-effort rest in the state of pure existence, if you rest in that state even for a second, in no time you will be established in it. There can't be any compromise. We can understand self-effort as being no compromise, because we always like to make little excuses. Well, I'll let go of this just a little bit, or I'll let go of it now and come back to it later. So I think this is where the great self-effort arises. It means no compromise and no fooling yourself. If, however, you wish merely to find your foothold in pure existence, you can achieve it by even greater effort. In other words, if you just want to touch it, then it's going to take longer to become established in it. It's going to take more effort. Similarly, by contemplating the infinite consciousness too, you can rest in the supreme state, but that demands greater effort. It depends what's meant by contemplating here. If you're contemplating it from a purely intellectual point of view, well, it's never going to happen really, except fortuitously. So in that sense it will take greater effort, because you're going to have to keep doing it, and you might get a result, you might not. So we're getting some interesting possibilities here. Meditation is not possible on objects of experience, for they exist only in consciousness or the self. So this pretty much puts the kibosh on meditation, because meditation is usually on objects of experience, whether it's on the breathing, whether it's on prana, whether it's on an image of some sort. So what options have we got? But if you strive to destroy the conditioning, the conditions, notions, habits, etc., then in a moment all your errors and illnesses will vanish. You cannot destroy concepts and notions. You can destroy habits, that's true. What you destroy is your belief in them, your emotional investment in them, and you can weaken your habits, destroy them eventually, the habits which give rise to belief in your notions and concepts. However, this is more difficult than the ones described earlier, for until the mind is free from the movement of thought, cessation of conditioning is difficult, and vice versa. And unless the truth is realized, the mind does not cease to function, and vice versa. All that you can do is realize the truth. There's no technique for this. You just do it. What do? You turn the attention to itself. Perhaps that could be described as a technique. But that's all you can do. That's all you can do to realize the truth. That is the realizing of the truth. And from that perspective, the more you do that, the more your conditioning will be weakened. Yet again, until the conditioning ceases, the unconditioned truth is not realized, and vice versa. Conditioning is not a permanent state. It's a continual flux. Sometimes it's strong, sometimes it's weak. And there are times we can be free from it completely. It's like the sun coming out between the clouds on occasion. When that happens, we can realise it's happened. And once we've realised it's happened, we can start to make the effort for it to happen again. We can start turning our attention towards itself again. So we need to be careful about this statement. Yet again, until the conditioning ceases, the unconditioned truth is not realised. So we don't actually have to work at getting rid of all our conditioning, because that conditioning can drop in an instant, but it can also reassert itself in an instant. Since realisation of truth, cessation of the mind, and the ending of conditioning are interwoven, it is extremely difficult to deal with them individually and separately. In other words, you can't just deal with the conditioning. There has to be realisation of truth. And cessation of the mind means being free of the conceptualising tendencies, which isn't that difficult. You're usually in that condition when you're listening to music. Music's not about concepts. It's not about conceptualising, although you can certainly conceptualise when you're listening to music. But if you're truly absorbed in the experience of the music, then there's no conceptualising going on. So it's not that rarefied a thing. It's something which is very common to us. So realisation of truth is essential before you can undertake any spiritual practice. And once you've got realisation of truth, you realise that you don't need to be caught up in your concepts. You're not the conceptualising mind. And then you get the weakening of conditioning. So this last sentence seems to actually give us the way it works, the way it proceeds. Realisation of truth, cessation of the mind, and the ending of conditioning. That's how it proceeds. There's no point in trying to do either cessation of mind or ending your conditioning unless there's realisation of truth. Otherwise you're just going to reinforce the mind and your conditioning at very subtle levels.